Get me that signal. We need more power.
Hello, my friend. It is good to see you. The bishop needs a new horse. Crisp and clean, with no caffeine. Yes. Good, good. You are indeed my contact. It is important to know who your friends are, yes? Please, come in and sit down. I have a message for you. You are to have a secret mission. But beware. The city, she's full of spies. You must investigate and find out who your partner is amongst the other spies in the city. You will exchange messages to reveal your mission, and then you must race to complete your mission before your opponents complete their mission. Do you think that you can handle that? Excellent. Here are some more details. The night is filled with cheerful jubilation, wild rejoicing, singing, laughter, and well-disguised, costumed characters scurrying through narrow alleyways. Intermingled with the crowd in this festive atmosphere are 4 special characters, true masters of deception. They are capable of disguising themselves to become unrecognizable as they sneak through the night on their secret missions. Will you be able to figure out your partner's identity and exchange the secret code that reveals your mission? Will you be able to bluff your opponents and hide your identity to prevent them from fulfilling their secret goal? Well, let me give you some tips to ensure your success. We can use this map of the city here.
Inkognito is a deduction game from Ares Games designed by Leo Colavini and Alex Rudolph. It's for 3 to 5 players and it takes about an hour to play. Now let me start out by saying that I'm not a big deduction game person. I played Clue as a kid like everybody else has, and Scotland Yard, and I did enjoy 221B Baker Street a lot, but it's been a long time. So I wasn't sure if I would like this game or not, but it turned out that I loved it. It comes with 4 different player pawns for each player, and each one has a different build. Either here is tall and skinny, here is tall and big, or big and tall, as we say in the business. Here's old short and fat, and here is short and skinny. Each one of them has this little mask and hat, which I thought was a great touch. Of course, you have to put it together at the beginning. It takes you about 20 minutes to put the whole thing together. You know, all of them. But it's kind of cool. Isn't that neat looking? So the board is a map of Venice, and it's filled with land and sea paths that the players can move along. Each player has defined starting points. If you look under this yellow guy here, you see that little yellow square? See that? They're marked on the board where they place their pawns before the game begins. There's also a separate figure called the ambassador, and he has an assigned starting spot as well. If this was a consulship, where is the ambassador? He goes right there. You will also receive a deduction sheet, a set of cards in your player color, and 3 random gray cards that say exactly who you are and what your mission is. Now, your character is defined by 2 traits, identity and build. There are 4 identity cards. There is Colonel Bubble, Madame Jaja, Agent X, and Lord Fiddlebottom. I'm Lord Fiddlebottom. And there's also the 4 different types of builds, which are, you can see them here, I believe that's short and fat, big and fat. No, that's short and, I don't know, short and fat, no, short and skinny, short and fat, tall and big, tall and skinny. You know them once you see them, right? Okay. And everyone gets a set of these 8 cards in their player color. So these are blues cards, right? You also receive gray identity and build cards, and these tell you who you actually are in the game. So your character, when you receive this, you'll know that you are the tall, skinny guy of your color. So blue, he is actually the tall, skinny one. That is me. I am the actual character you are playing. Ha-ha. And he happens to be Madame Jaja. Okay? So that's what he knows. He knows he is the tall, skinny dude of blue, and he's Madame Jaja. Is that Jaja? Yeah, Jaja. You don't let any of the players see your gray cards. Now the 3rd gray card is a mission card. And it will, once you figure out who your partner is, you will show them your mission card. And they will show their mission card to you. And you combine these 2 letters and refer to the mission list on the front of your player screen to find out what your actual mission is. The first team to complete their mission wins the game. See, if you look at the screen here, see, I have the C. Okay, so I am, who am I? I am Madame Jaja with a C. So you look at Madame Jaja, and see, there's the C. Now, my partner is going to be Agent X. Madame Jaja's partner is always Agent X. And Colonel Bubble and Lord Fiddlebottom are always partners. But I have to figure out who Agent X is. And once I do, they will show me what their mission card is. Let's say they had B, and I have C. Then I refer to this chart, BC, and then I read here to find out what my mission was. Madame Jaja must secretly meet Agent X and hand over the microfilm. All I have to do is land any piece on Agent X, and then we would win the game. We just say, hey, we won. We've finished it. Yay. So this game is unique in the fact that you start the game as individual players, but you end it as part of a team. Now the meat of the game is to discover who each of the other players are so that you can find your partner. You're provided with this pad of sheets that the players use to keep track of the information that they give and receive during the game. And this is how you figure out who everyone is. On your turn, you shake this special thing that looks like a nun. Here. Hello, I am a special thing that looks like a nun. Kind of loud. It's filled with marbles, and when you set it down, 3 marbles will appear in the window. Like that. You see those 3 marbles appearing? These tell you what 3 movements you can do on your turn with your pawns, and it's mandatory that you have to perform all 3 of these movements. Depending on your role, you'll either move along a land or sea route, or you might move the ambassador to another player. Your goal is to either land on another player's pawn. So, looking at this, I have white and purple and orange. This white means that I can move one of my own figures 1 space on land or water. So, I'm the blue guy, right? I can take one of my dudes and move it 1 space on land or water. So, I decide to move here. Yes, that's what I decide to do, because that's the kind of guy I am. Now the purple one means I can move one of my opponent's figures on land or water 1 space. So let's say I take the green and I move him 1 space along the route to here. Okay? and now I have the orange. I can move one of my figures one space on a land route. Okay, orange means land only. As you can see here, the land routes are colored orange. Well, just so happens I can move him right next to him. Ta-da! And I've met my goal. I have run into another character on the board with one of my characters. Now you can end up landing on multiple players during your turn, but you can only land on each player once. But conceivably, you could land one dude on each of 3 different players. Now, some of the other color models mean different things. Like, some will let you move the ambassador, and some will let you just move along water routes. It's pretty easy to figure out. For each pawn that you end up in the same space with, you get to ask that player to either show you identity cards or build cards. And they have to show you 3 cards, and 2 of them have to be of the type that you requested. And at least one of those 3 has to be true. So, for example, let's find the green's cards. Because we just landed next to green, right? And we say, we would like to see green's... The heck? Green? Okay, we tell green, we'd like to see your identity cards. So green looks through his cards, right? He's got his 4 identity cards. Now, there's his 4 identity cards. We find out that green is Agent X because he's got the gray Agent X card. So, he has to show at least 2 identity cards. So he's going to pick X and Z. Alright? And he's going to not show 3 identity cards. He's going to pick a build card instead. Right? So now he's going to hand these 3 cards to Blue, and Blue is going to mark down on his sheet what he's been shown. Now, Blue knows that at least one of these cards has to be the truth. Okay? He doesn't know whether it's this card, or this card, or this card. So only by finding out things from other players and asking more questions of green in the future can he start to narrow down, okay, he lied about this, he lied about this. Hey, he just showed me a card that I know is me. So he can't possibly be that, so that's a lie right there. So I know one of these other 2 cards is actually him. And it's kind of works like that. You write this info down on your sheet, and by going to multiple players multiple times, you slowly figure out who is who. The other player is supposed to keep track of the cards that they showed to you and never show you the same combination of 3 cards again. Now this works until you run out of space on your little sheet here to track this, which happens almost every game. And then you get a bit lost and you forget about that rule. If you run into the ambassador, now he's a little different. You get to ask any player to see either build or identity cards, and they have to show you 2 cards, and one of those must be true. So instead of them showing you 3, if the ambassador is involved, they only have to show you 2 cards, and one of them has to be true. So you can learn out a lot that way. I recommend sending someone over to the ambassador ASAP. Now, once you write down all the info, you get to boot the other player's pawn that you connected with to any open space on the board. Send him over there. Now, little did I know that that's actually my partner. Green is actually my partner, but I haven't figured that out yet. So I sent him all the way there across the board. The ambassador, he goes back to his starting point. Now, this routine continues until someone figures out who their partner is and they complete their mission. Then they announce that they win and the game is over. And that's basically how you play Inkognito. Let me just show you here's my horribly marked up sheet. I kind of made up my own codes here. So, for example, I marked off that I was this guy and this guy so that if anybody ever showed me one of those cards, I knew that they were lying. So here, Becky showed me this card, and this card. And by then, I knew that these 2 cards were lies. So I figured out right then that she had to be this pawn. Well, by me figuring out that she's this pawn, that let me figure out that somebody else was this pawn. And so on. And I did little notations. I scribble it out if I knew that it was a lie. I'd circle it, circle the X if I figured out that that was the truth. And kind of made up my own little code. And again, there's different missions in each game. Once you figure out who your partner is, the hardest thing is letting them know, or you have to pay attention because they may be trying to let you know that they're your partner. Once you both figure it out and you both know and you both show each other your cards surreptitiously so the other players don't know, then you can go and complete your mission and win the game. It's tough, but it's a lot of fun and it takes a lot of thinking, and man, what a good time I had playing this game.
You and your group have to like deduction games in order to have fun playing Inkognito. Players who aren't familiar with these types of games or don't like to play games that are essentially mental puzzles will get lost and bored. This isn't a game where you're all sitting around laughing and joking and rolling dice. Watching this game, you'll see players staring intensely at their score sheets, trying to glean some bits of knowledge out of the scattered marks on their sheets. Yes, I know that I don't sound like I'm from Venice. What am I supposed to sound like? Am I supposed to talk like this? I don't know. It sounds too stereotypical to me. Once you figure out who your partner is, there are basically two methods for letting them know. Each character in the game has a certain trait. For example, Lord Fiddlebottom twitches his right eye. Yeah, that's my left eye. Whatever. If you can signal the other player by displaying this trait without the other players catching on, then they might figure out that you are their partner. However, the rules say that you can lie in an attempt to trick the other players, which is goofy and renders the whole trait thing useless anyway. The other way is to hand them your gray cards the next time they ask to see some of your cards. Then they will know exactly who you are. If you show them the mission at the same time, then they know exactly what you both need to do in order to win the game. You'll have to wait until you land on one of their pawns for them to return the favor and to show you their half of the mission card. Make sure you are certain of who your partner is before you take this step, or you'll screw up everything. I had a great time playing this game. I loved doing the whole deduction thing, and the secret stuff going on around the table I really enjoyed. But again, everything depends upon who you play with. Describe the game first and go with players who are either familiar with deduction games or think it sounds interesting. When played with 4 players who like these games, it is the best deduction game I've ever played. 4 players is the best amount of players to play with. The 3-player game is interesting enough as well, though, because one of the characters has been arrested, but you don't know who. You set aside one set of cards, and if you discover that the character in prison is your partner, then your job is to get out of Venice as quickly as possible so as not to get arrested yourself. The other 2 players play as normal, mission-wise. The 5-player game has 1 player as the ambassador. The ambassador's goal is to figure out who everyone else is before the other players complete their mission. It's not really as fun. The score sheets are inadequate for keeping track of the cards that you show the other players. If they were double-sided, that problem would be eliminated. Finally, when you shake the Phantom of Prophecy, it is loud. Fair warning. Overall, though, I loved this game. This type of game is for me. It might not be for you, but hopefully I've given you enough info to make that decision for yourself. Thanks for joining me in this review of Inkognito from Aries Games. Let me know if you found this review helpful by leaving a comment or sending me an email at elliott_miller@voiceofe.com. Make sure you subscribe to the Voice of E channel on YouTube. It's a YouTube, so you subscribe it to me. Like The Voice of E on Facebook and visit our website at thevoiceofe.com, as I got a lot of other stuff going on over there that's pretty good stuff. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks again, and until the next time, you keep your mind free.
Get me that 6. We need more pounds.